Well, what happened with the Randy Fine is exactly what I said. He would win, but underperform. And that's what happened. President won that by 30 points in 24. I won it by 35 plus points in 2022. Fine is out there saying he won by the same margin I did. That is a total lie. I won by more than twice that he did in 2022 in that district. And so what happened there? The media is saying, oh, you know, Republicans had to spend money, and they did. They spent millions and millions of dollars. In 24, not 1 cent had to be spent in outside money in this district. Because, well, I don't know if this, are we actually in that district? I know he's got part of Marion, so it's a little over there. And so the fact that money had to be spent, you know, that's not a good thing. This should have been a going away. And what happened was, and so the media is trying to say, oh, see, it shows. I think the Wall Street Journal said something about this is like an anti-MAGA backlash. I don't think that's true at all for this district. I think you have a candidate in Randy Fine who, one, he's a squish. Okay. He supported restrictions on Second Amendment rights back in 2018. He tried to defeat my immigration proposal to help President Trump enforce immigration laws. And he tried to enact a de facto make Florida a de facto sanctuary state. So when people see that, our base voters don't get excited about that. You're not giving them a reason to go out and vote. And he's also, just the way he conducts himself, is somebody, he repels people. He's repelled people in the legislature. He's repelled, they wanted to get him out of the legislature. So they asked me to put him up for Florida Atlantic president. And I did. And the whole board would have resigned rather than make him president. And so now he's going to be in Congress. I mean, like, you know, it is what it is. So it was unique problems with this candidate.
As if it wasn't already bad enough that we've seen Republicans undergo not so stellar underperformances in both Wisconsin and Florida, now we've got the Republican Party at each other's throats as they try and figure out who's most to blame. And not to get too Joe Biden whispery here, but it's all of you. Now, while DeSantis tries to cast this off as fine, just fine, no pun intended, the reality is that the two candidates in Florida underperformed by 16 points and 22 points from the party's 2024 presidential margin. And of course, in Wisconsin, Susan Crawford overperformed the 2024 presidential election contest by 11 points. Not dissimilar from last week, where Democrats in Pennsylvania overperformed by 15 points and 17 points in 2 state legislative seats. Those results match the nationwide trend that we're seeing so far in special elections across the country. Of the 16 races held since Election Day, Democrats are seeing an 11.5% swing to the left, with 2 of those races seeing Democrats flip seats formerly held by Republicans. According to the Strength in Numbers newsletter from data scientist Elliot Morris, now, thanks to the Down Ballot's data archives, we can compare the average swing in special elections in 2025 to the average swing in special elections held in 2017. There were 67 state legislative special elections held in 2017 for the 2018 midterm cycle, according to their tracking. In those, Democratic House candidates beat Hillary Clinton's margin versus Trump's in 2016 by 11 points. So an 11-point swing for Democrats in 2017 and 10 points for 2025 so far. 10 is not so different from 11. And of course, you'll remember that Democrats won the House by the biggest margin in modern American history in the 2018 midterms. The fact that we're seeing the same exact trends play out right now does not bode well for Republicans as we head toward 2026. Which, by the way, makes it all the more ridiculous that DeSantis is out here trying to carry water for Daddy Trump and explain away Republicans' underperformance as if it's just some issue with one candidate in particular. Randy Fine's underperformance was especially notable, but it's also perfectly in line with every other Republican candidate who's been running this cycle. I get that DeSantis traffics and lies on a daily basis, and that's nothing new, but while he lies, the numbers don't. And they prove that Randy Fine isn't the exception, he's the rule. It's also telling to hear what DeSantis has to say about Florida's newest congressman.
And he's also, just the way he conducts himself, is somebody, he repels people. He's repelled people in the legislature. He's repelled, they wanted to get him out of the legislature, so they asked me to put him up for Florida Atlantic president, and I did. And the whole board would have resigned rather than make him president. And so now he's going to be in Congress. I mean, like, you know, it is what it is.
Isn't it interesting how once the race ends, Republicans finally feel free to talk about the dogshit candidates they put forward? Hey, good news, Florida. Your newest congressman is someone so repellent that the only reason he got this job was because representing you was the only way to get him off of everybody else's backs. When the future of the Republican Party describes itself using the same adjectives as Raid bug spray, doesn't exactly inspire much confidence now, does it? And let's be clear, it's not just Ron DeSantis who's flailing. Here's another Republican lawmaker, Lisa McClain, who said this.
I'd rather be us than them. Look at what they did in those 2 seats in Florida. They spent over $20 million to lose. You can talk about the margins, but they still lost by double digits, and it cost them $20 million. I'll take that all day long and twice on Tuesday. Keep pouring that dark money in and keep losing, because that's what's going to happen.
Well, the flip side of that coin is Elon Musk put $25 million of his own money into the Supreme Court contest in Wisconsin and lost. So
too little, too late. Too little, too late. Elon didn't come, in fairness, Elon didn't come in until the last minute. I wish we could have had that back. We could have gotten in a lot earlier. But at the end of the day, we got the W, and that's what's the most important. And special elections are special for a reason. Typically, we have lower turnout in special elections. But I will give the Democrats credit. They were organized, and they spent a ton of money to lose those seats.
Tell you what, one thing that will never not impress me about Republicans is their cognitive dissonance. The way they can compartmentalize makes me think that these people are just at a different level of evolution where they can turn off full parts of their brains at the exact moment they become politically inconvenient for them. Here, McClain goes on the warpath against Democrats spending money in Florida only to lose, and yet when confronted with the fact that Republicans also spent big money in Wisconsin and lost, she's like, well, you see, Elon came in late, and also turnout is generally lower in special elections, and of course, how can we ignore global trends? It's like watching two entirely different people at the same time, or put another way, a far-right Republican hack. And it's not just Florida where the GOP is spinning. Here's one of Susan Crawford's soon-to-be colleagues on the Wisconsin Supreme Court melting down over the results.
I'm really personally and professionally disappointed that Judge Schimmel lost to Judge Crawford. I think it's going to result in terrible consequences for the state of Wisconsin and for the state of the judiciary. My 4 colleagues have politicized our court in a terrible manner. They make political decisions all the time. They rule 100% for the Democratic Party in every case that's presented to them. We had an opportunity to return the court to what it should be, which is deciding cases under the law. And unfortunately, we're simply going to see more politicization of the judiciary. I also think the way Judge Crawford ran her race was disgusting. She slandered a good man, Judge Schimmel. We saw this last time against Justice Kelly. It's really sickening. And I hope next time the people will see through the lies that misportray good people in these ads. It's a terrible thing to happen to the state.
The liberals on the court have politicized the court in a terrible manner, says the conservative judge at a watch party for the candidate whose entire campaign was paid for by Elon Musk, the billionaire who bankrolled Donald Trump's campaign and who turned Twitter into a far-right Republican cesspool. But sure, she hates politicization. Got it. But it actually got worse.
Why do you think Schimmel lost at the end of the day?
I think that we saw a ridiculous amount of money come in to this election, and I always defend the right of anybody to participate in speaking in elections, and of course that takes money to do it. But when you see $100 million plus being spent on one state Supreme Court race, that is telling you that the Democratic Party is buying another justice, just like they did with Justice Protasewicz.
Buying another justice? Elon was the single biggest donor in the entire race, literally handing out million-dollar checks. Again, the cognitive dissonance here would be impressive if it wasn't so frightening. So look, these Republicans will continue to flail and finger point, but the reality is that as more and more Republicans continue to lose these elections, they've only got themselves to blame. They have hitched their wagons to a madman who is tanking the U.S. economy, destroying our global alliances, and leaving this country in shambles. They knew what he was before they got into bed with him, but they barreled ahead anyway. So if they want to pin the blame on someone, perhaps they should consult a mirror. Before you go, first, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we're now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they're willing to cater to this White House. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a great way for me to be able to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's completely free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support my work. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.